If you still freeze during a casual conversation despite studying for months, it's not your memory, it's your method.
Stop studying English like everyone else.
Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and share this video with a friend. Here we go!
Hey Liam, I had a big problem yesterday because I wanted to say that a project went down the drain, or maybe was completely ruined. No, wait.
Emma, did you notice what's happening right now?
I think I'm trying to find the ultimate perfect idiom, and it's making me even more confused.
Exactly. Because you're focusing on sounding incredibly advanced instead of just communicating the message.
But I want to sound natural and fluent, not like a complete beginner.
Imagine your team moving forward with the meeting while you're busy translating, checking grammar, and searching for the perfect poetic phrase.
That's exactly what happened to me. I just stayed completely quiet.
Meanwhile, the conversation is already blocks away because real-life communication doesn't pause for your perfect vocabulary.
So the problem wasn't that I didn't have a good vocabulary.
The problem was that you chose silence over simplicity. You tried to perform a linguistic stunt instead of just crossing the street.
I think a lot of learners do that because we are terrified of sounding too basic.
And that's why people can know thousands of advanced words and still freeze during a casual business dinner.
That's frustrating because most learners probably think they need to memorize a whole dictionary of idioms to be fluent.
Sure, but hoarding advanced words often makes the freeze worse because the real issue isn't word count, it's agility.
So, what's the golden rule when the perfect word simply evaporates from your mind?
You downgrade the vocabulary to upgrade the speed. Instead of "the project went down the drain," you just say "the project didn't work."
That sounds almost too simple. Does that really count as being fluent?
100%. Fluency is about how fast you react, not how heavy your notebook is. Native speakers choose the simple path all the time.
I notice that many learners spend hours watching English videos, but they still feel completely nervous when someone actually speaks to them. Why is that?
That happens because knowledge and performance are two completely different skills, Emma. And unfortunately, most people only train one of them.
Wait, can you give us a real example of how that works?
Imagine someone who spends 6 months studying books about how to swim, but never actually enters the water.
Oh, I see. They might know every single technique, but they'll still panic the moment they jump into a pool.
And that's exactly what happens when you spend months studying English rules without opening your mouth to speak.
Wow, so that's why someone can know a lot of grammar and still struggle with a basic conversation. What should learners start doing instead?
They need to stop treating English like a school subject and start making it a natural part of their daily routine.
But what does that look like for someone who has a very busy schedule?
It's simpler than you think. Just listen to a short conversation, repeat what you hear, and spend a few minutes speaking out loud every day.
That sounds much easier than those complicated study plans people usually create.
Because simpler is always better. Simple habits are much easier to repeat consistently.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, you mentioned earlier that the fear of making mistakes stops people from speaking. what is the next big mistake learners make?
The second big mistake is waiting to have perfect grammar before you finally start speaking.
Really? But I think a lot of learners believe that's the responsible way to learn. Why is that a problem?
Because they're chasing a finish line that keeps moving further away every time they learn something new.
Oh, wow. So the more rules you learn, the more you realize you don't know.
Exactly. And suddenly, speaking feels like a goal for the distant future instead of something you should do today.
I can imagine many of our viewers are realizing that things are actually much simpler than they expected.
And that's exactly why the perfect grammar mistake is so dangerous, Emma. It feels like you're being smart, but it's quietly slowing down your progress.
So, what's a better approach when we learn a new grammar structure?
Learn it, use it immediately in a few real sentences, and then bring it into actual conversations as quickly as possible. That's how your brain remembers it naturally.
That sounds much more practical than spending hours memorizing textbook explanations. If learners stop obsessing over grammar, what's the next trap they should watch out for?
Memorizing long lists of isolated vocabulary. It looks productive, but it rarely leads to fluent conversations.
Oh, wow. I think a lot of people just looked at their vocabulary notebooks and felt a little nervous.
They shouldn't feel bad, because almost every single learner falls into this trap at some point.
But why do vocabulary lists feel so effective when we're studying?
Because they're easy to count and easy to organize. They create an illusion of fast progress.
That's so true. Learning 20 new words in one day feels like a huge achievement.
The problem is that learning a word is different from owning a word. Most of those words disappear before you ever get the chance to use them.
That is incredibly frustrating. Why does that happen?
Imagine spending a whole week memorizing an advanced word like negotiate, and then completely freezing and forgetting it the very first time you actually need it during a meeting.
Ouch, that sounds painfully familiar.
And that's because the human brain hates storing isolated information. Without a meaningful connection, it just throws those words away.
So, what kind of information does the brain actually remember more easily?
The brain absolutely loves stories, emotional situations, and real-world experiences. Why? Because they're incredibly easy to connect to real life.
Can you give us an example of what that actually looks like when learning vocabulary?
Absolutely. Instead of memorizing the word appointment all by itself, imagine calling a clinic and saying, "I'd like to schedule an appointment for next week."
Oh, that already feels so much easier to remember because I can literally picture the situation.
Exactly. And once you can picture the scene, the word becomes much more useful and much harder to forget.
So the goal isn't just collecting as many words as possible?
Not at all. The real goal is collecting useful language that you can actually use when real life happens.
That sounds like a completely different way of thinking about vocabulary.
It is. And it becomes even more powerful when learners discover what native speakers actually store in their minds instead of individual words. They store chunks of language connected to situations and emotions.
Wow! So maybe the real problem isn't that we have a bad memory for words, but that we're learning them the wrong way. To wrap things up, Liam, what is the number one thing you want learners to remember after this conversation?
I want them to remember that fluency is not a knowledge problem. It's a usage problem.
That is a powerful distinction. Instead of asking, "What else should I study?" we should start asking, how can I use my English today?
Exactly. And that single shift in your mindset can completely transform the way you learn.
So, what should our viewers do right after this video ends?
Use English in some small way today, even if it's just for a few minutes. Motivation is strongest right after a breakthrough, and immediate action turns inspiration into real progress.
I love that because it feels so practical and achievable.
It should feel achievable, Emma. Fluency is built one conversation, one phrase, and one day at a time.
Thank you for sharing all of this, Liam. I'm sure many of our viewers understand their own learning challenges much better now, and it honestly takes a huge weight off their shoulders.
That's always the first step. Real growth starts with awareness. Once you pinpoint the exact habits that are holding you back, you can finally stop spinning your wheels and start moving forward with real confidence.
Absolutely. And before we close this chapter today, we would love to hear from every single person watching this right now.
We want to know which of these specific mistakes has been slowing down your English progress the most? And which one are you going to commit to fixing first?
Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't hesitate to share, because your personal breakthrough might be exactly what someone else in our community needs to hear to unlock their own English journey.
This conversation was such an eye-opening experience, but our mission to completely transform the way you speak doesn't stop here. In our very next video, we're stepping out of the theory and getting highly practical.
That's right. We've put together a precise, no-nonsense list of 5 everyday phrases that many learners use thinking they're being perfectly polite, but that actually sound incredibly rude or aggressive to native speakers.
Honestly, I bet you're using at least 3 of them right now in your daily conversations, without even realizing the impression you're making. Click on the next video on your screen right now to save yourself from those awkward moments. See you there.
Catch you in the next one. Bye!